You know that feeling, right? It's like 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah. The laptop screen glow.
Exactly. The glow of the screen is lighting up your bedroom studio, and you've finally done it. You export that final mix. The EQ is perfect. The vocals sit exactly where you want them.
Best feeling in the world.
It really is. You hit upload, and boom, your music is out in the world. It's this incredible feeling of creative release, but, and this is what we're doing a deep dive into today, what actually happens next.
Right, because it doesn't just stop there.
Not at all. According to a massive new blueprint on independent music logistics by MD Abdul Ahad Shanto, hitting upload is absolutely not the finish line. It's really the starting gun of a high-stakes, totally data-driven marathon.
It truly is a marathon.
Yeah.
And Shanto, who produces under the name AlwaysBeSmile, makes a really compelling case in his book, The Independent Musician's Blueprint.
Yeah.
His central thesis is basically that a great sound is essentially useless if the data infrastructure behind it is a mess.
Wow. Useless. That's a strong word.
But it's true. I mean, in today's landscape, an independent artist has got to manage a verified digital presence and, really precise metadata to actually protect their story and build any sort of long-term value.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because going from a hobbyist making beats in your bedroom to a globally protected professional brand, that requires an entirely different skill set.
Completely different.
And as someone who loves the creative side but kind of glazes over when acronyms start flying around, I really need to understand this invisible web. So let's just start with the physical journey of the audio file.
Okay, let's trace it.
I finish the mix. I don't just, email it to Apple Music, right? I send it to a distributor, someone like TuneCore or DistroKid.
Right.
And then they push it to the streaming platforms, which seems simple enough.
It does seem straightforward until you realize that parallel to that audio file moving to Spotify, there's a massive stream of invisible data moving toward global databases and performing rights organizations.
The PRO.
Exactly. PROs like ASCAP or BMI. Your distributor handles the physical delivery of your audio file. The PROs, though, they are essentially the industry's detectives.
Detectives?
Yeah, they track every single time that file gets played on the radio, in a local coffee shop, or on a stream, ensuring the underlying writers actually get paid for it.
Okay, so that detective work implies there are two different things being tracked, right? I remember hearing this concept that every single song is legally divided into two halves.
Yes, the composition and the sound recording.
Right. It's kind of like building a house. The composition is the architectural blueprint, the melody, the lyrics, the core idea.
Yep.
And that belongs to the architect, the songwriter. But the sound recording, what the industry calls the master, that's the physical house built from that blueprint. The bricks, the wood, the studio time used to record it.
That is a perfect analogy. And the reason you have to track the blueprint separately from the physical house is that they generate completely different streams of income.
Okay, how so?
Well, Shanto gives a really clear example of this dynamic. Let's say he, under his artist name AlwaysBeSmile, writes, produces, and records a track called Ray Doi, Rockbo Door, Poraner Paran.
Okay.
Because he wrote the melody and the lyrics, he owns the composition. And because he paid for the studio time and recorded it himself, he also owns the master.
Got it. So he's the architect in the construction company. He owns the whole property.
He does. But what if a film director hears that track and wants to use it in a movie scene?
Oh, right. Sync placement.
Exactly. The director can't just get one blanket permission slip. They need two completely separate legal clearances. They need a master use license to broadcast the physical recording and a synchronization license to use the underlying composition.
Wow. Okay.
If you don't know that distinction, and a lot of indie artists don't, you might sign a quick contract with an indie label giving away your master rights, and suddenly you lose control of the physical house, even if you still hold the blueprint.
That is so dangerous. And here's where it gets really interesting to me. What if he didn't build the whole house himself?
Oh, collaborations.
Yeah. Let's say he wrote the lyrics, but a friend produced the beat. That house now has two owners. If they don't lock down who owns what percentage of the blueprint, before release, they are begging for a legal nightmare the second that track generates any revenue.
Oh, absolutely. Which raises an important question about collaboration. And the industry solves this with something called a split sheet.
Right, the split sheet.
Before the track ever goes to the distributor, you, your collaborator, have to agree in writing. Say, 70% to AlwaysBeSmile for the lyrics and melody, 30% to the producer for the beat.
Okay, and then you just hold on to that piece of paper.
No, you submit that split to your PRO. This document acts as the legal foundation. So when those royalty detectives trace a stream back to the source, the money is divided automatically and accurately.
Makes sense. Okay, so the house is built, the ownership is split, and the PROs are ready to track it. But with what? Millions of songs uploaded every single day?
Over 100,000 a day, yeah.
That is insane. The industry obviously needs a way to sort out all these addresses, and the book talks about the global music industry relying on a code alphabet, the metadata.
The invisible web.
Exactly. The most crucial ones being the ISRC and the UPC. I'm assuming, going back to our analogy, one of these tracks the physical house and one tracks the neighborhood.
That's a really helpful way to visualize it.
Yeah.
The ISRC, or International Standard Recording Code, is a 12-character digital fingerprint assigned to each individual sound recording. It tracks the master.
Okay, so what does that actually look like?
Well, the blueprint breaks down a specific Bangladeshi example,
Right.
BD A12 2400001.
Okay, wait, break those letters and numbers down for me.
Sure. So BD identifies the country of origin. A12 is the unique registrant code for the entity releasing it. 24 is the year of release, and 00001 is the specific track number.
Oh, okay, so the distributor basically generates that ISRC fingerprint for the song.
Exactly.
So what about the UPC?
The universal product code is the barcode for the entire package, because a single song rarely travels alone forever, right? If you bundle 10 tracks into an album, each of those 10 songs keeps its own unique ISRC fingerprint. But the album as a whole, the package, gets one UPC barcode.
Okay, I see.
It allows the system to track individual track streams while also tracking full album sales or, downloads.
Got it. Now, shifting gears a bit, the blueprint is incredibly strict about the actual files we attach these codes to. It specifies a WAV format, 16 or 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz sample rate.
Standard high-quality audio.
Right, but it specifically mentions a loudness target of around negative 14 LUFS. Why does that specific loudness number matter so much? I mean, I've heard producers say they want their masters pushed to the absolute limit so they sound huge and, stand out on a playlist.
Yeah, that's the old way of thinking. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the whole loudness war is actually a relic of the CD era.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Today, streaming platforms use normalization algorithms to keep the listening experience consistent for the user. So if you submit a track pushed to the absolute maximum, say, -6 LUFS, Spotify's algorithm will forcibly turn it down to match their -14 standard.
Whoa. So they just squash it.
Exactly. When the algorithm violently compresses a hyper-loud track, it crushes your dynamic range. The kick drum loses its punch, the vocals sound completely squashed, and your track actually ends up sounding weaker and quieter than a properly mastered song playing right next to it.
That is wild. You are actively sabotaging your own mix by trying to game the system.
You really are.
And I noticed the same strictness applies to the visual metadata, too. The cover art has to be exactly 3,000 by 3,000 pixels, and it says no text like new single or out now printed on the image.
Right, because platforms are curating timeless catalogs, not temporary social media feeds.
Oh, that makes sense.
If a listener discovers your track on a mood playlist 3 years from now, having brand new single plastered across your face looks incredibly unprofessional. It dates the material instantly, and honestly, it often gets rejected by the distributor before it even reaches the platform.
The audio and visual specs make perfect sense when you put it like that. But the text metadata, the spelling of your name, seems hyposensitive in this book.
It is extremely sensitive.
So if I release my first single as AlwaysBeSmile with spaces, and my second single as AlwaysBeSmile, all one word, wouldn't the system just, figure out it's me based on my genre or my face on the cover?
No, not at all. The system doesn't infer anything. It simply reads data. It's entirely literal.
Wait, really?
Yeah. AlwaysBeSmile with spaces and AlwaysBeSmile without spaces are treated as two completely distinct human beings.
You're joking.
I'm not. It will generate a duplicate, empty artist profile. Your followers won't get a notification about the new drop, your streaming numbers get split between two profiles, and your algorithmic momentum completely stalls out.
That is devastating for an indie artist.
And it gets worse. More dangerously, inconsistent metadata is exactly how royalties end up in the black box.
The black box? That sounds ominous. Where does that money actually go?
Well, it's an industry term for unclaimed royalties. If a PRO detects a radio play for a track, but the text metadata, say, a misspelled songwriter name, doesn't perfectly match the ISRC registered in their system, they literally can't verify who to pay.
So they just keep it.
They hold that money in a black box for a few years. If it remains unclaimed because the independent artist never realized or fixed their data, those funds are eventually distributed by market share.
Wait, Market share?
Yes. Meaning your typo literally buys a fraction of a yacht for the biggest pop stars in the world.
That is a massive wake-up call. I need my royalties going to my bank account, not to a global pop star because I added a cool emoji to my track title. Okay, so the track is perfectly fingerprinted, the text data is pristine, and the song is live. Now the book shifts focus to claiming digital real estate, verifying profiles on Spotify for Artists, Apple Music, Amazon Music.
Yeah, this step marks the transition from being just a passive participant on a platform to having true digital authority.
Right.
When you claim those profiles and secure the blue check mark, you are demanding the keys to your storefront. You unlock real-time analytics. You can see exactly what cities your listeners live in, their age demographics, and what specific user playlists are driving traffic.
Which is huge for planning a tour or marketing.
Huge. It also allows you to pitch unreleased music directly to editorial teams for official playlist consideration.
It feels exactly like claiming a business on Google Maps.
That's a great way to look at it.
If I open a coffee shop but never claim the listing, I'm just letting an algorithm or random customers who upload blurry photos dictate my brand to the public. By verifying the artist profile, I am basically saying, I am the CEO of this music. I set the bio, I upload the highest press shots, I decide what song sits at the top of the page.
It is entirely about controlling the narrative. And one of the most powerful tools for controlling that narrative, while simultaneously connecting deeply with your fans, is your lyrics.
I am so fascinated by this mechanism because as a fan, there is nothing cooler than listening to a track on Spotify and seeing the lyrics scroll perfectly in real time.
Oh, it's the best.
Or being able to highlight a specific 3-line verse and share it directly to my Instagram story to match a mood. I think a lot of people just assume the streaming apps use speech-to-text AI to generate those words automatically.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, but they definitely don't. It is a highly structured ecosystem powered by dedicated databases. If you want those real-time shareable lyrics on Spotify and Instagram, you have to submit them yourself to a platform called MusicSmatch.
MusicSmatch.
Okay, they act as a central hub. When you upload and sync your lyrics there, MusicSmatch pushes that data out to the social platforms.
And then the blueprint also mentions Lyric Find, which powers Google Search and YouTube Music. So if someone remembers a great hook from my song, but they completely forget my artist's name, and they type those lyrics into Google, Lyric Find ensures my song pops up on page 1.
Right.
So every single word I sing essentially becomes an SEO keyword pointing back to my catalog.
Precisely. Plus, you have Genius, which is brilliant for annotations. It allows you, the actual artist, to highlight your own lyrics and explain the deeper meaning or the studio process behind a track.
I love reading those on Genius.
That's a great way to connect. And when you combine all three, MusicSmatch, Lyric Find, and Genius, and ensure your registered name and ISRC match perfectly across all of them, you ensure no one else can claim your poetry. You turn your lyrics from a static text file into a global marketing engine.
Okay, so we've got the commercial platforms covered. We are verified on Spotify, our lyrics are synced on Instagram, the SEO is working, but there's a whole section in the blueprint dedicated to global archiving.
Yes, Chapter 7.
It focuses on open source databases like MusicBrainz, Discogs, and AllMusic. And I'll be honest, my initial thought was that these sound like places for vinyl collectors and data archivists.
A lot of indie musicians think that.
Right. Why does a modern artist looking for streaming numbers need to be there?
Well, what's fascinating here is that those platforms seem old school, but they are actually the central nervous system of global music data. Tech giants like Apple, Google, and Amazon don't just pull their facts from Spotify.
They don't.
No. When a fan asks Siri or Alexa, hey, who produced the new AlwaysBeSmile track? The smart speaker doesn't search Apple Music. It queries open source databases like MusicBrainz.
Oh, wow. So if I'm not in those open source archives, voice assistants literally won't know I exist.
They'll just say, I don't know.
That connects to something else, too. The Google Knowledge Panel. You know, that big informational box that appears on the right side of a search results page when you look up a famous artist?
Yeah.
With their bio, albums, and social links?
Yeah, the knowledge panel?
I always assumed you had to hire an expensive publicist to get Google to build one of those for you.
Not at all. Google builds those panels automatically by cross-referencing high-trust databases. If your metadata is clean, consistent, and identical across MusicBrainz, Discogs, and AllMusic, Google's algorithm connects the dots and generates that panel for you. It's really the ultimate sign of digital legitimacy.
That is incredible. But securing that legitimacy requires one more code that I had literally never heard of before reading this. The ISNI.
Ah, the ISNI.
ISNI, the International Standard Name Identifier. If the ISRC is the fingerprint for a specific song, the ISNI is the 16-digit fingerprint for the human being creating it. Shanto actually shares his own in the book. It's 0000000000514239474.
Exactly. It functions like a global passport for creators. It links your music, your production credits, your songwriting, even your IMDb page if you score an indie film,
Yeah.
all under one universally recognized identity.
Wow.
It is utilized by national libraries, databases, and search engines globally. It prevents misattribution. Like, if there are 5 people in the world named John Smith making indie rock, the ISNI ensures that John Smith, the architect, gets paid for his specific blueprints, not the other 4 guys.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think it fundamentally changes how you view release. You aren't just dropping an audio file into the void. You are architecting a digital monument that points back to you from every corner of the internet.
Yes.
It requires looking at your art as professional intellectual property.
Modern music truly is a balance of sound and presence. Creating the song is only the first half of the job. Doing this administrative work, managing your data, verifying your profiles, and registering your ISNIs in global databases is the only way to ensure that you actually get paid for your creative work today and decades from now.
Take control of your storefront. And to borrow the perfect sign-off philosophy from our author, MD Abdul Ahad Shanto, keep learning, keep improving, and always be smile.
Love that.
Before we officially close out, though, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We are entering an era where tens of thousands of AI-generated tracks are being uploaded to streaming platforms every single day.
Yeah, it's moving so fast.
In a landscape where literally anyone can prompt a machine to generate a flawless, radio-ready beat in 30 seconds, won't an ironclad, human-verified digital identity, backed by global databases, PROs, and a 16-digit ISNI, become the ultimate currency to prove that you are, in fact, a real artist?